I was talking to some of the top leaders of this region and the rest of the part of the world. They feel that the next 3 years or so, they're not going to be a huge sales growth. Yeah. So the only way that the organizations can survive is how do we manage our cost if you want to retain your profitability. So whenever an organization is designed, there is an entitlement profit, meaning that the organization is designed to generate certain amount of profitability. But in reality, when you try to start operating, this is something out of the many kind of interactions I had, we found that the actual profits are different. Yeah. So as a business design, whatever the entitled profit, the actual profits are different. That means the Y is less than X. Then the question is, where has the rest of the profits have gone? Yeah. So Philip Crosby, about 2 decades ago, brought the concept, and James Duran perfected it subsequently, saying that about 20 to 30% of our cost are avoidable. In the sense, over a period of time, the organizations have become more complex. The complexity of the organization gradually creeps in. With the result, our cost keeps on increasing. At any point in time when the business is looking good, so the last thing that we generally focus on is our cost. So there is a huge opportunity, irrespective of whatever may be our business model, there is a significant opportunity to generate profitability within the organization instead of expecting the sales. Generally, the management decisions are taken thinking that if I'm going to put some more technology, if I modernize or if I bring the latest ERP, my profitability will increase. Yeah? But a lot of research has been done which shows the technology contribution for the enhanced profitability is only 15%. Yeah? And more intelligent way the management can apply any techniques, maybe putting scorecards in place or applying lean management and other things, you will find a huge amount of methodological contributions. Nearly 80% of the organizational profitability improvement can be brought about by methodology. What do you mean by methodology? The way in which the organization is designed, the way in which the information flows across the organization, the number of people we have hired, where are we deploying them, and so on and so forth. So, looking into the organization with a different lens, you will find there is a significant opportunity. I want to draw your attention that the lean management is coming from the methodological point of view, and it hardly has got any technology. It is difficult to control the external environment, but lot can be done our internal drivers, because someone has said that you cannot change the direction of the wind, but you will be able to adjust your sail. So it is more important to look inward at this point in time, maybe low productivity, inefficient processes, complex workflow, rising cost and low employee morale and things like that. This has become the characteristics of many of the organizations in the Asia Pacific and the GCC region. Maybe because that at good time we were creating more complex organizations, and at this point in time we need to re-look into them. Out of the many organizations with which I could get engaged, what I found is the profit leakage is not happening in any one particular part of the organization. It is something happening across the organization. Yeah? So taking any point optimization, a point optimization is picking up manufacturing and let me reduce waste and things like that, is no longer going to give benefit. There is a company in Sri Lanka which is a large electrical engineering company. The CEO felt that the change is not to start from the back end, from manufacturing. It should start from marketing. Yeah? Let me start applying lean in marketing, whether I am understanding the customer requirements correctly, whether I am really created a more complex supply chain systems for back end and so on and so forth. So what lean is giving you an opportunity going forward is to look at a holistic view of the organization of the very business design that we have created in the past. A function called continuous improvement, a culture within the organization for continuous improvement was not there. So everyone was busy with their own routine responsibility of running behind numbers and so on and so forth. So maybe our last 20 to 30 years, a lot of realization has come that looking at the short-term aspects of the organization is not good enough. Yeah, structures have been created and a lot of resources have been put in place in order to tweak the organization on a continuous basis. So what is needed is a step change. As you could see, that in a short period of time, we need to put the whole organization design under the microscope and then try to bring in the whole different way of doing things. I just want to throw a few ideas of some of the latest thinking has come worldwide to bring in a step change, A step change requires an external help because the organization may be able to bring about change, but nevertheless, that will be pretty slow. The organization needs to transform. I'm not using the word change because change is incremental, right? And it is reversible. So at this point in time, what is needed in this part of the world is transformation, that we need to probably challenge all our paradigms, our earlier beliefs. As Einstein has beautifully said, we cannot solve the problem with the same thinking we used when we created them. What is strategic cost management says in simple terms is, try to figure out what is the value you are delivering to your customer. Today, the most difficult part of our thinking is, what is the value that we are delivering to our customer? Lean is nothing but a philosophy by which you have a relook into your own business. Yeah? If you take strategic cost management as a principle, ask the question why we created a complex organization the way in which we have created. Yeah? But since you are already into it, you will find it very difficult to ask those questions. Yeah? Because we have been running the business all along that way. What's most important in the lean thinking is, stop for a while and start asking questions. Thank you very much.
This is how we look at it. So we want the highest quality, we want the lowest cost, and we want it on-time delivery. And of course, we want it to be safe when we operate it. Fingers crossed, we also want it to be safe when it's actually been manufactured. Okay, so in lean terms, this is how we start to look at it as a customer, from the customer's eyes. Now, from a company's eyes, what does this actually give you? If you can produce things at the highest quality, right first time, safe at all times, you deliver on time, and you do it at the lowest cost, what does that actually give you? Profit, thank you. If we manufacture it at the lowest cost, we can sell it for a higher cost. Hopefully that's what we're all here to do. Then that will give us greater profit. Companies concentrate on saying, actually, you need to work harder. You need to get more output. But we don't actually understand the difference between value add and non-value add. As you can see here, typically about 5 to 10% is value add. And we say, work harder, do more. We're trying to improve that. If you get a 10% improvement in that, you're getting a what? 0.5, 1% improvement. If we start to look at our non-value add and our business value add, then actually we've got more opportunity to make an improvement, which frees up time, frees up resource, allows us to concentrate on more value-added activities, allows for growth. Now, what we want to do is we want to maximize the value add. We want to minimize the business non-value added. We have to do it. We don't want to do it, so we minimize it as much as possible, and we want to eliminate the non-value add. Okay? This is how we look at it in very basic lean terms. Okay, so that's actually lean lesson over. But this is fundamental and how we approach it within PDO. PDO choose lean. And it was alluded to in the last presentation. There needs to be a business need. When we launched lean, oil was at $120, $100 a barrel. So what is the need? PDO's need is up here. We're going to need 30% more power handling. Our water handling is going to go up by 65%. We have primary, secondary, and tertiary types of getting oil. Primary is easy oil. Secondary is not so easy oil. And tertiary then is enhanced oil recovery. Okay, enhanced oil recovery takes a lot more money. So we need more water handling. I think it's fairly common knowledge that for every barrel of oil we get 8 barrels of water. That barrels of water is only going to increase in the future. We have to do something with that. It's increasing our costs. Again, enhanced oil recovery means we're going to need 230% more chemicals. Where's this coming from? How do we sustain that as a business? We can throw money at it, but then as soon as you start throwing money at it, profit goes down. Do we then have a business? Our OPEX year on year is going up 67% more, 40% more people. How do we do this? We couldn't continue as we were. This was our platform. This was our need for change. And if you've all got businesses, then you need to identify and recognize what is your need for change. We've gone through about 7 phases or recognizable phases to date. We've been through a tools era, realization, alignment. We've then kicked it off in earnest. How do we sustain and then replicate? We then execute our plans and then to some level of maturity. Well, we started off with standalone projects just to get the buy-in, the right to operate, the right to be able to grow lean in the business. Would it work in PDO? And actually, it did work in PDO. We executed about 20 projects, and they were a great success. What we found several months later after the projects is sustainability. At the time, we did them. We got a great result. But then how did we sustain it? Sustainability wasn't great. We looked at leadership and said, okay, what's your role in this? And they said, I don't know. You've done your projects, that's it. So where was the leadership buy-in? What was their role that they had to play in this? There was acceptance of it. Yeah, let's try it, as leadership should. But then what was the ongoing support? What we actually noticed is that we did have something missing. And what we had missing was really the how. First of all, what's the business pain? Okay, why are we even looking at certain things? Then, the current condition. Putting some numbers around it. How are we currently performing? Don't expect everybody down below. Don't just delegate it, because it's not going to work. You as leadership need to lead it. Okay? It's top-down leadership. It's bottom-up training and capability building. Have you heard of the terminology, the inverted pyramid, where leaders move from the very top down to the bottom, and they listen to their front line and empower? Then this is what all our guys all our leadership team, were introduced to. This was led by our managing director himself. Raoul was the first person, one of the first in the company, to go and do what we call Gemba walks, to go and see at the front line how our process is performing. He'd fly the interior, he'd walk across the office. This is not a grand tour. This is going and speaking to the guys, saying, are you having a good day? If you're not, how do you know that you're not? What are you going to do different tomorrow? Nice, simple, easy little questions. And it prompts people to think. you can see that there's, consistency, frontline activity, strong governance, leadership accountability. This is not a flavour of a month, okay? This is ongoing, day in and day out. We reached a stage where we've got this bunch of lean tools, and everybody was going out and using this bunch of lean tools. But as we became more mature, people actually recognized that this isn't just about a bunch of tools. The best companies don't have a bunch of tools, they have a system. Do all your frontline guys, the people who are back in the office, busy on their computers or doing whatever they do, they understand how they are impacting and inputting to the company profitability? What is the common purpose? This is a guiding principle of ours.
A manufacturer or a factory where there is a proper clear cut every day morning, same work, so you can adjust your own processes or the way you handle work every day morning. So the journey was very difficult. And the first big problem we faced was our own internal people acceptance of doing things in a different way. That was a real challenge. First of all, they think somebody is coming to audit them, and that is the first sit back and push. Second thing, they think that if they do it the new way, there will be a problem with the results. 6 months to diagnose and to put reasons of problems, whether it's internal, external, investment requirements, systems, people training, better communication to the principals, re-engineer our own processes, and then we come to the implementation period where it started in June 2016. By that time, the form of contracts with the principals was quite different to 2017. By looking to some areas, we seriously have seen lots of improvement in both ways. And probably usually lean, it talks here about profitability, whether you stop losses or you increase top line and improve the bottom line in both cases. But actually, I would say the best gain we have seen in this program was the engagement of people. It was people involvement, more confidence, people speak loud. There were issues where people feel, if I talk about my own problems, they will see me as a problematic person. Now, that was an open forum to share all of your opinions, thoughts. I think that was a good thing. We have seen people coming to the service, talking about their own problems, leading the initiatives, and it paid. All the companies are moving toward the technology era. They want to get rid of the old-fashioned work, and we have to be either to ride the wave and be ahead of the game or to be left behind. So 3 areas: doing the operations, doing the processes, and focusing on customer experience. And just to come back to customer experience, I spent 6 years of my life before joining OFC heading the customer experience office in Oman for Ooredoo, and I was engaged with Ooredoo International. And again, the first or number one biggest problem was your internal people to accept the changes of the re-engineering of your own daily work. But here it worked. One big challenge, and I think PTO speaker mentioned about the non-value adding, where sometimes people spend much of their own efforts, time, and probably spending money and scoring in their own goals. So at the end of the day, they don't really add real value to the business. As I said, in Muscat alone, we have more than 500,000 meters water electricity. And we supposed to read at least, to avoid penalties, 96% and more. If you don't do this, and that is including, of course, the outdoor reading. If you knock somebody's door, they don't open, it's locked, then and you prove it twice, then you will be calculated. It will be calculated around 6%. In 2014, when I joined OFC, we were at 64%. When we closed 2016, we were at 99-point-some-ish%. Well, that was good for the service provider, good for us, bad for some people who haven't been read for ages. And suddenly their 3 riyals bill, 3 riyals, 6 riyals, 3 riyals, 6 riyals, suddenly jump into 600 riyals. Because that was a real one. That was a real reading. It wasn't a surprise. No, there was cheating, the meters, but our fault that we haven't read the meters in appropriate monthly basis. So this is the wave of the meter reading, with identifying the problems, with looking into the processes re-engineering, putting the right people into the right place, putting a proper clear-cut incentive plans for our own meter readers. In 2014, I joined, we used to have 274 meter readers, and they used to do 64% with accuracy of 70-ish%. In 2016 end, we have almost the same number of meter readers with an annual increase of 10% of meters. So in fact, a 3 years, 10% meter increase, an achievement of more than 99%. But those people who used to make 350 riyals, they are now making probably 500 riyals or more because of the incentive they do. So the number of water recovery, in fact, moved 4 times better. And we can see also the meter reading, and it works very, very well, and we are exceeding the required targets. That doesn't stop here. We are now making a real benefits of what we have learned during Lean. We won North Batna, Bremi, and North Batna, Bremi, and Zahra. And we started from first month exceeding or reaching a very, very good percentage of readings.
Consumes resources and frustrates people, but not really creating value for customers, because that's not what the customers pay for. So lean thinking, simply put, is a relentless pursuit of recognizing what is not creating value for our customers, for our stakeholders, and trying to eliminate them as diligently as possible. Process cycle efficiency, simply put in lean language, is the proportion of value-adding time to the total time consumed by the process. And lean says, more the process cycle efficiency, greater is the value your process is creating. Global benchmarks reveal that most industries don't operate more than 10% of process cycle efficiency. So if you're operating at 10% process cycle efficiency, you're in a typical process, you're already closer to being a lean organization. So why should we take this idea seriously? Simply put, lean helps you to make more money. And how does it help you to make more money? Because it is helping you to focus on the things that you do that create real value. And more value that we create, greater is the stickiness of the customer with the organization, and greater is the likelihood that the customer comes back and we are able to deliver that value to the customer with as few inefficient processes in the organization as possible. This really applies to any organization. You may be an insurer, or you may be a bank or a telecom company, for all you know. It really does not matter. We ask 3 simple questions. What money do you put into the system in the form of people, in the form of assets? What money do you invest to keep the system running in the form of inventories? And what money or what value does the system create in the form of throughput, right? And all we are asking the question is, throughput is what the customer buys from you and pays money for. So the greater we achieve throughput at lower cost put into the system, greater is going to be the value creation of the system. And that is the simple 101 of lean thinking. There have been cases after cases where, defective goods either rejected within the factory or sent over to customers and comes back in tons, and sometimes, many times it crosses borders. And imagine the amount of lost profitability. What about the added shipping cost and the lost customer goodwill because of the material losses? Lean really helps to go deep into these issues and improve the system. What about throughput increase without CapEx? Nobody's really, of course, CapEx is out of the question right now, but can we increase capacities? What if we wish to globalize? What if we want to sell to our neighbors? What if we want to sell in Africa, for instance, the growing market? Do we invest in capacity? Do we invest in CapEx? Or have we really asked the question, how much more can we produce with the invested capacity, invested assets in the organization? Oftentimes, you'll be amazed at how much capacity gets released when you really look at the value-creating component of work. We have seen cases of 30 to 40% capacity release without adding a single CapEx in organizations. And what about chronic problem solving? Now, sometimes we are resigned to our fates thinking, okay, this problem is going to exist and let's just find a way to work around it. Recently we had an experience with a factory where they generate, they do batch processing of detergents. And every batch generates several hundred kilos, several bagful of detergent that is out of spec, which has lumps in it. Now, the system has been designed with this inefficiency in mind. So if we plan to produce 1 ton of product, we will end up producing 800 kilogram of product. And so we have to run the machine for excess hours, and we need to produce so much more material to run it. And we have to find a way to recirculate the rejected material and so on. So this becomes a vicious cycle, and people start to believe this is the norm and this is the order. When you really start questioning, why is this waste present in your organization to begin with? And you will find people say, no, the machine manufacturer said if we run the machine at 550 degrees Celsius, this is the level of waste we will get, and we tried different settings. And somebody will say, no, but the supplier, till last year we had a supplier, and we changed the supplier, and then we ended up with this problem. So we need to go back to that supplier. So you'll find that the answer never lies in technology or subject matter expertise on one facet of the system. You'll find the answer always lies in how the system is designed. And unfortunately, over time, we lose the ability, it's probably in our blind spot, to really question where the system is failing to begin with. So this is a great opportunity to take a step back and ask the question, what facets or what elements of the system design is flawed that we need to correct it? So this is not just a philosophical debate, but there are scientific tools, there are statistical tools that can help us to quickly pinpoint. And in every step of the value stream, you will find complexity. So when we do the mapping process, actually, we put those red stickies on those processes, saying that, okay, this is where we drop the ball. And this is a very candid process, because we need to recognize what is wrong in our own organization. If we do not, and if we try to pin down individuals for these failures, the system will never improve. So I think the leadership also plays a very important role here to tell individuals that this is not a fault-finding exercise. Any improvement to the system is going to make life easier for everyone. Other aspects in terms of holding it all together, because we make so many changes, and these changes are, sand by sand. I really liked that line where it's not a great moment of epiphany where we say, okay, we have identified all these things, and from tomorrow we will be lean and 40% more productive. I think the approach takes diligence, but not as discouraging, because you start seeing the benefits as you go about implementing it one step at a time. But the idea is keeping it all together in terms of the new way of doing things. So getting people to the stage where they willingly start opening up and sharing the issues, because they themselves want these problems solved, because they're not able to meet their targets, they are overstretched, they have to work on weekends, and they have to do things that they don't really enjoy. Because of the way the system is designed, and merely by beating them with a stick is not going to solve the problem. So when we came together, we said, okay, how many steps there are in the whole process? What is really creating value? What is creating waste? And how can this process be re-engineered, simplified? What sort of solutions? Let's put a stake in the ground. What all needs to be done to improve the system? That may involve engaging with the partners, engaging with customers, engaging with the people running the process, looking at layout, looking at the document that is moving around. So this is really, this is not difficult, by the way. The reason it becomes difficult is sometimes we end up with a bit of a tunnel vision about our process.
First of all, we had to admit that we were not faultless, that we had weaknesses within our company, that not always the big, bad outside world was the reason for us not to perform as we should be. A lot of reasons to do and to start the lean process with SSA. The internal challenges we had. The first step we did was the diagnostic first. Where was it? Lack of accountability, process disconnections, lack of leadership amongst process owners. The accountant said, yeah, I'm not responsible. I have my debt collector, and he should go behind our collections. He should go behind the invoices. And a commercial guy who closed the deal, who know about the ins and outsides of the invoices, he was not even connected through all these processes. People working in silos, no, I'm the bookkeeper, I only put the numbers in my ERP system. I'm not interfering in what kind of deals we have, what kind of agreements we made in our purchase orders, etc. First of all, as a company, you should be able and willing to become vulnerable. You have to admit that you have weaknesses, not only the management, but also the people. To overcome this hesitation and resistance within Mobilift and partners, we started with the training. What is lean management, and how will lean management make your own work and your own tasks and your own duties more easy and less complicated?
Thank you to all the contributors this morning. Very interesting talks. I work for Munanor, which is a medium-sized company, about 450 staff and a turnover of about 30 million real. And this morning we heard from a very large organization, PDO, and a smaller organization, Mobilift, talking about the same topic. And in PDO's case, it was a very systematic, a lot of talk about tools and a very structured process. And I guess you had quite a lot of assistance in terms of consultancy and otherwise. And in Mobilift's case, much more of a practical do-it-yourself attitude. And I wondered if you were thinking about our organization of the size I've described, 450 staff, 30 million turnover, 4 factories, what sort of scale of, or what sort of exercise would it be for us as an organization?
You have to do what's right for you. You have to do what's right for your organisation, your culture, and really what does that look like? I think there's been each presentation that I've seen, including my own, actually started to detail that you need to start somewhere. I think in another presentation it labelled a diagnostic, and that's where you start. You can start by understanding the value stream. How do you offer value to the customer, and then understand the gaps there. You could start by, do you want to change your culture? You can start by introducing continuous improvement boards around the business.
First of all, you have to realize that you have to overcome resistance and hesitation from your people. The more complicated you make it, the less goodwill and the less help and the less efforts from your staff you'll find they put in it. So keep it as simple as possible.
It is no longer a choice to make. It has become a strategic intent of the boardroom. That's one point. And secondly, as PDO's case, I was just trying to take notes on the various large-scale sustenance plans, cultural change, and irrespective of the size of the organization, wherever you are trying to bring in transformation, you need to do all of them. Maybe the scale may be different.
So the only way is to do it smart, and that by revising all of your journey within the organization itself. You'll find lots of areas that need to be revisited again, and you can make profits, avoid penalties, improve quality of work, re-engineer people, train people, engage them, and you will find a lot of benefits within the teams, because the two options are there.